What's happening, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing my final review on the G Master 24mm 1.4. So I've had this lens for a few months now and it's been just a pleasure to shoot with. I'm happy to say it's probably my most used lens. So you can check out my previous review, my initial thoughts that I'd done on this lens a little while back when I first got it. But the biggest thing, smallest thing, is that it's so small and really lightweight. I'm blown away by how they could make it this small with a 24mm 1.4. You know, I just expected it to be a lot larger, and the price isn't that bad compared to other lenses. Like, it's cheaper than the Canon 24 1.4, it's cheaper than the Nikon version, but optically superior and smaller. Really impressive little package. So I've got to talk about build quality. Just like any other GM lens, it's fantastic. It feels really nice in the hand. It does have the little weather sealing gasket on the end here, and it comes with a lens hood that makes you look very professional, obviously, and it has the felt inside, which, you know, adds that premium feel to it. It has a 67mm filter thread to go along with the small size. It has the AF/MF switch on the side, plus the little function button on the side here, which you can have programmed to focus, hold, or eye focus, or whatever you like. Also has the aperture control dial. Sounds really nice. I really love that. I really like the aperture control dial. I use it all the time. I came from 35mm. I really use 35 for pretty much everything. You know, I was like a 35-85 kind of guy. And then I changed to 24 and 55, and I found it was just a really creative way for me to get a little bit out of my boundary. Getting used to the 24 was a little bit different. I don't know if I'd say challenging, but you definitely have to be careful of where you're putting someone in the frame and how close you are, just so you don't get really warped out faces and stuff like that. But saying that, these days it's not wrong, it's just different, and everybody has a style. So just be aware that at 24mm, if you put something in the corner and you're quite close, the heads are going to be quite warped out if you're photographing people. Surprisingly, I shoot pretty much everything with the Sony GM24. I went to Queenstown yesterday. I flew in and out the same day and shot an elopement down there, and all these photos were with the 24mm G Master, and it was just great. I had my 85mm GM on my other camera with my dual harness, and I took like maybe 5 or 10 photos with it. I took about 300 photos with the whole set, and everything was with the 24mm, and I'm just so happy with it. By the way, all these images were edited with my preset pack, which I have 50% off at the moment. It's been 50% off for a week or two now, but I haven't told anybody. So jump on that before it runs out. So optically, this lens is sharp. It's super sharp at 1.4. Even when you're sort of on the outside corners, when you stop it down like past f2, it just gets just crazy sharp all the way in the frame to the edges. I take it up to about f11, and then you sort of start to see the quality drop off a little bit. Not too much, but same, any lens suffers from a bit of diffraction past f11. The colors and the contrast on this thing are just beautiful. The colors are really accurate. It's definitely not as warm as like the Sigma lenses. I had the 24 and the Batiste, like I said, and they were a lot warmer than this lens, but not true to life warm, just warmer in general. The GM, I find, with all the GM lenses, actually, they're very accurate in color. So if you want it warm, you can warm it up later. But having it accurate straight out of the camera is really nice. I do notice this lens has a little bit of chromatic aberration wide open to about f2.8. After that, it sort of mostly goes away. It's definitely not as bad as the Batiste 25mm that I had previously. That thing was a shocker. It was a really nice lens, but the chromatic aberration was terrible. I'm not sure why, but I seem to be a bit of a fan of negative spaces in photos. So when I'm shooting with this 24mm, I'm quite comfortably putting a couple on the bottom of the frame or up top or in the corner. And even at 1.4, not having any worries that they're going to be really blurry or anything like that. So it is quite sharp, even at 1.4 on the outside edges. So I shoot backlit with this lens quite a bit. I really like getting that hair and the sunshine glowing, and just, I don't know, it's because it's my style, and lens flare is really well controlled. Focusing on this lens is really fast, as you'd expect from a 24mm. The depth of field isn't overly large, so even when you're up close, the eye focus just works flawlessly. Video focus is really nice and smooth. I would usually have the settings set to normal and standard when you're talking about focus, responsiveness, and speed in the back of the Sony cameras, and that just allows for like a really smooth transition. Focusing in low light is really good as well. I have found lately when I've been using the 24-70 GM, because it only goes down to f2.8, with the Sony cameras in really low light situations, 2.8 makes a big difference as opposed to 1.4 when you're trying to focus in those really dark situations. I did want to touch on one thing specifically, because by far the most asked question I get on any lens review video that I've done on YouTube so far is about focus noise. A lot of people seem to think they have a really noisy focusing lens, and from my experience this G Master is really quiet. The 85 G Master is definitely noisier, but it's not something that picks up in the microphone if you're using an external mic. My advice is, if you think it's too noisy, just go and get it checked out. But most people, I think, are just worried about nothing, and just, you know, if it's not causing any issues and it's focusing fast and responsively, then I just wouldn't worry about it. But saying all that, like I said, my GM 24mm is really nice and quiet. So when comparing wide-angle primes for Sony lenses, I did do a video on that a little while back, so I'll put a link in the description, you can check that out. In my view, you've got a few main competitors. You've got the really cheap 28mm f2, which is great. You've got the Batiste 25, you've got the Sigma 24, and you've got the GM 24. Now, if you're looking at a little bit more budget-friendly option, the Sigma is fine. The focusing, in my opinion, is definitely not as good. You know, I did own the Sigma 24 for a while. I really put it through its paces. In hard situations, the focusing on the GM is definitely much better. If you can't afford the GM and you're looking for a cheaper option, to be honest, I'd probably go for the Sony 28mm f2. I also owned that lens for quite a while, so did my second shooter Ethan, and it's just a fantastic lens for the money. It definitely doesn't keep up with the Sony GM, but for the money you pay, it's just an amazing budget option until maybe you can upgrade if you ever need to. So is it worth the extra money? In my opinion, yes, it's definitely worth the extra money. I'm going to put a link in the description below so you guys can download some raw files from this 24mm GM. Otherwise, watch out for my review on the 24-70 GM coming up in a couple of days. Really appreciate all you guys watching along. I've just hit 6,200 subscribers. It's happening really fast, so thanks guys for watching. Subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.